He was sold into slavery, but rose up to become Prime Minister. That's right. If you want to know about blessing that can set you among the powerful and the rulers, stay tuned. Hi friends, welcome to the channel, The Book. Please do subscribe as I'll be sharing more videos about the series The Blessed Not Lucky. In the last two videos, we have seen that God is blessing to be fruitful and multiply. In this series, we learn more about blessing from God. So let me begin by prayer. Thank you, Lord, for each and everyone who's watching this video. Bless them, Lord, bless their life, Lord, bless their families, and let the blessing overflow. I pray in the name of Jesus. Amen. Genesis chapter 35, verses 10 and 11. And God said to him, Your name is Jacob. Your name shall not be called Jacob any more, but Israel shall be your name. So he called his name Israel. And also God said to him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall proceed from you, and kings shall come from your body. Here, God is talking to Jacob, and God is blessing Jacob to be fruitful and multiply. In the last two videos, we have seen the same kind of blessing, that is to be fruitful and multiply. From Adam to Noah, from Noah to Abraham, from Abraham to Isaac, and now from Isaac to Jacob, the same blessing has been multiplying. Now Jacob has 12 sons. One of his sons' name is Joseph. So let me tell you the story about Joseph, who's been sold into slavery by his own brothers. Now Jacob loves his son Joseph more than all the others. So he even makes a tunic of many colors and he gives it to son Joseph. So the other brothers are jealous that his father loves him more and he's even given him a tunic. So they hate him. Genesis chapter 37, verse 6, 7 and 8. So he said to them, Please hear this dream which I had dreamed. There we were, binding sheaves in the field. Then behold, my sheaf rose and also stood upright. And indeed your sheaves stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf. And his brothers said to him, Shall you indeed reign over us? Or shall you indeed have dominion over us? So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. Now Joseph has another dream, and he tells his brothers about the second dream, wherein he says that there is sun, there is moon, and there are other stars which are bowing down to him. So he tells his second dream to his father and brothers, and his father gets angry and he says, What is this dream that you have seen? So what do you think that your mother, I, and your brothers, we will come and bow down at your feet? Genesis chapter 37, verses 12, 13 and 14. Then his brothers went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, Are not your brothers feeding flocks in Shechem? Come, I will send you to them. So he said to him, Here I am. Then he said to him, Please go and see if it is well with your brothers and well with the flocks, and bring back word to me. So he sent him out of the valley of Hebron, and he went to Shechem. Now when they saw Jacob from afar off, before he came near, they conspired to kill him. And they said, Look, here comes the dreamer. Friends, this word, dream, is a dangerous word. If you have a dream, you will become a target. Some people would hate you for having a dream. Some people would think you are crazy and they would call you a dreamer. Some dreams might even get you killed. So if you have a dream, well, not everybody has a dream, but if you have a dream, then you need to protect it. You need to hang on to it and work really hard so that one day you can achieve that dream. Because some dreams are from God. Just as Joseph's dream was a revelation from God. But his brothers were determined and they were set on defeating that. Genesis chapter 37, verses 21 up to 24. But Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, Let us not kill him. And Reuben said to them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit which is in the wilderness, and do not lay a hand on him, that he might deliver him out of their hands, and bring him back to his father. So it came to pass, when Joseph had come to his brothers, that they stripped Joseph of his tunic, the tunic of many colors that was on him. Then they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, there was no water in it. Reuben didn't try to stop his brother, he tried to outsmart them. He was the elder brother, so he could have just stood up and said, This is wrong, we should not do it. He could have stopped them. But he wanted to show his father that there is some good left in him. He wanted to get his father's favor. Friends, Joseph could have died in this situation. But when God has got his eyes on you, no one and nothing can harm you. God can raise you friends from even among the enemies. Genesis chapter 37, verse 26 and 28. So Judah said to his brothers, "What profit is there if we kill our brother and conceal his blood?" Then Midianite traders passed by, so the brothers pulled Joseph up, lifted him out of the pit, and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver, and they took Joseph to Egypt. This is a reminder that Jesus Christ was sold for a few pieces of silver. Friends, you might have faced in past some betrayal, maybe at present, or maybe people have abandoned you, or maybe right now is the time when no one cares for you, when people have distanced themselves from you. I have been to that dark place myself. So let me give you a glimpse into my past. This was in the year 2015. This is from January to August 1st, the 7th month, the most difficult time in my life. Due to some tragedies in life, I had hit the deepest, darkest pit. I was depressed. And sometimes we just lose everything in a blow. But sometimes it happens piece by piece, and eventually you lose it all. For me, maybe it started with hope first. Then I lost ambition, dreams, expectations, passion, desire, even sleep and peace. I was left with nothing. I was a dead man walking. I was depressed. You might ask, did I think of committing suicide? Yes, I did. But that would have been an easy way out. I'm kind of stubborn. I don't give up easy. I didn't want easy way out. But the depression, it starts affecting your body. So for me, my digestion was affected. When your digestion is affected, your immune system is compromised. And that actually results into making your body so weak that the disease and the sickness can affect you. Now, that's why it said half of the battles are won in your mind. Now, I do not know medicines, but I have experienced all this. And if all that was not enough, I also lost my job. So whatever finances were left, I could pay the rent for 3 months, but there was nothing left to buy food, for food supplies. So I would go hungry, I would starve for days. And once in 3 or 4 days, I would reach my friend, I would ask money from him, like 20 rupees, like 25 cents, right? So every 3 or 4 days, I could afford a tea and a samosa. I still remember walking down from that apartment, holding that money in my hand, going to get my meal for once in 4 days. That went on for 3 months. And I still remember, in those days of hunger and starving, I would call up some of my dear ones, the people who I cared for. And I expected and I hoped that they would pick up the call and they would say, "Hey, come over sometime, you're welcome to our place." I was hoping that they would say, "Do you need any help? How are you doing?" Those were the days when I needed help most. Those were the darkest days when I needed help. And those are the days when people alienated me. They didn't want me. Friends, in those darkest moments of your life, the most difficult times, when everybody has let go of you, there is one person who would never leave you. As the psalmist says, "Even if I go to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in hell, you are still there." God is always there. He's taking care of us. Even in the situations when we cannot see Him. Our inability to see God in our situation does not change God. He's faithful. He does not change for anything. He protects us. He takes care of us. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's not going to change. Friends, wherever you are, whatever you are facing, God has got his eyes on you. Genesis chapter 39, verses 1, 2, and 5. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. So it was, from the time that he had made him overseer of his house and all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessings of the Lord was on all that he had in the house and in the field. Joseph is young, he is handsome, he is strong and wise, and now he is the head in the master's house. Now master's wife was longing for Joseph and wanted to take advantage of him. One day when he was alone in the house, she caught him by his garment. Now Joseph left his garment in her hand and ran and fled outside. When she saw that he had left his garment and fled outside, she falsely accused Joseph. When she said these things to her husband, the master was very angry with his wife's words. So he took Joseph and he put him in the prison, the place where king's prisoners were confined. When Joseph was sold into slavery, he did not complain. When master's wife had an eye on him, he did not compromise. And when he is put into prison, he still does not complain. So the thing about Joseph is, he neither complains nor compromises. So friends, while God is watching over you, why do you need to compromise for anything? And why do you complain? God knows what you're going through. So quit complaining and start praying. That will open doors. It will make your path straight. Genesis chapter 40, verses 2 and 3. And Pharaoh was angry with his two officers, the chief butler and the chief baker. So he put them in the custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the prison, the place where Joseph was confined. Then the butler and the baker of king of Egypt, who were in the prison, they had a dream, both in the same night. And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and Joseph interpreted the dream. The 3 branches are 3 days. Now within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your place. Just like the former days when you were Pharaoh's butler, you would be placing the cup in his hand. When the baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said to Joseph, I also was in a dream, and I saw 3 white baskets on my head. And Joseph said, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 baskets are 3 days, and in 3 days Pharaoh would lift your head off and hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat your flesh from you. Genesis chapter 40, verses 20, 21, and 22. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast for all his servants, and he lifted up the head of chief butler and of chief baker among his servants. Then he restored the chief butler to his butlering again, and he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. 2 years after the butler was restored to his butlership, that he had forgotten about Joseph, that Pharaoh had a dream. In that dream, Pharaoh stood by the river, and suddenly out of the river came 7 fat and good-looking cows. Then following that, 7 ugly and thin cows came up. They stood by the other 7 cows. And then the 7 ugly thin cow, they ate up the good 7 cows. And Pharaoh woke up. Pharaoh slept and saw a second dream. This time 7 good heads of grain, plump, they came up. And then followed with that, 7 bad and ugly grain came up. Now the bad, thin, ugly grain, they damaged, they harmed the 7 good grains. So Pharaoh woke up again. In the morning, Pharaoh's spirit was troubled and he was worried. So he sent and he called for his magicians in his country, for the wise men there, but there was no one who could interpret or explain the dream for Pharaoh. Then the chief butler of Pharaoh said that there was a time when you were angry with us, the servants, and you had put your servants in the prison. him and the baker. So he said both him and baker had a dream the same night, and there was a man, a Hebrew man. So we told him our dream. He interpreted the dream for us, and it came to pass, just as he said. Genesis chapter 41, verse 14 and 15. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him quickly out of the dungeon, and he shaved, changed his clothing, and came to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have had a dream, and there is no one who can interpret it. But I have heard it is said of you that you can understand a dream to interpret it. Then Pharaoh told Joseph about the dreams. He said that there were 7 good cows, and then the 7 ugly cows ate up the 7 good cows. And then he informed about the second dream. So Joseph said to Pharaoh that both these dreams are the same. And God, through this dream, God has shown to Pharaoh what he is going to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years. And the 7 good heads are again 7 years. Then comes the bad and ugly thin cows, 7. So that is again 7 years. So the first 7 are the good, are the plenty that would be there in the land for 7 years. So that is what God has shown to Pharaoh, that first 7 years there will be plenty. Then the next, the ugly thin cow means that there will be 7 years of famine. So the first 7 years there will be good and plenty, but next 7 years the land would be depleted due to famine. Genesis chapter 41 verses 33 up to 36. Now therefore let Pharaoh select a discerning and wise man, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, to collect 1/5 of the produce of the land of Egypt in the 7 plentiful years. Let them gather all the food of those good years that are coming, and store up grains under the authority of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. Then that food shall be a reserve for the land for the 7 years of famine which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land may not perish during the famine. Friends, this is called the providence of God. Everything that God has prepared for you, all His good plans, unfold. No matter how bad your past has been, no matter what mistakes you made, no matter where you have been till now, this right here is a life-changing moment for Joseph. From being a slave to a prisoner, from being a prisoner to an advisor to the king. Friends, through Joseph, God is not only informing about a problem, but He is also providing a solution, a way out of the bad situation. God is the way maker. He does not leave us in the problem, but He brings us out of the problem. So when God is ready to provide solution for problems, all we have to do is pray, trust, and obey. Genesis chapter 41 verses 37 up to 42. So the advice was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said to his servants, Can we find such a one as this, a man in whom is the Spirit of God? Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, Inasmuch as God has shown you all this, there is no one as discerning and wise as you. You shall be over my house, and all my people shall be ruled according to your word. Only in regard to the throne will I be greater than you. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, See, I have set you over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took his signet ring off his hand and put it on Joseph's hand. And he clothed him in garments of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. So friends, Joseph could have been killed by his brothers, but God saved him. He was sold into slavery. God took care of him. When he was put into prison, God was there with him. And God rose Joseph to become the prime minister of land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said that yes, there is Spirit of God in this man. And he set him over all the land of Egypt. So from this story of Joseph, we can take hope that in our life also, God is in control. So we need to build up character and trust in God, just like Joseph did. He never complained and he never compromised. Joseph was loved and hated, favored and abused, tempted and trusted, exalted. Yet at no point in life did Joseph take his eyes off of God. He always trusted in God. So friends, no matter what situation you face in life, always trust in God, because God will bless you and set you high among the rulers. So what we can take from the story of Joseph is, do not complain and do not compromise, but pray, trust and obey God. So please subscribe to the channel, as I'll be sharing more videos about blessing. Thank you and God bless you.